Things are going well in the UK right now. Things have really taken off, which has been really gratifying because there hasn't been any sort of compromise to get to that level. I've just sort of basically been touring my ass off for ages and putting out records and doing things the old-fashioned way, and all of a sudden there's kind of songs on the radio and there's people who want to come to shows and stuff. Yeah, and it's weird because it's definitely the biggest stuff I've ever done as a musician, and it's kind of slightly sort of outside my field of reference. Do you know what I mean? But so in a way, it's kind of nice to be able to come out to the States and kind of balance it out with some more kind of like back to the old school kind of touring, sleeping in the van, and playing small shows to kind of cool crowds and stuff. I mean, obviously, hopefully, it'd be great if things kick off for me in the States as well. But I've been doing this for about 11 years now, and it's kind of more usually been one way than the other, and it's kind of nice to not completely lose touch with that. With Million Dead, our last tour, we were playing to maybe like 400 kids a show kind of thing. And so I was at a stage where I could go out and kind of book a headline show where maybe like 40, 50 people would show up, sort of thing. So I basically just started doing that. Well, that'd be a good show. There were plenty where there were less than that, do you know what I mean? And just kind of doing house shows as well and all that kind of thing. And I basically spent 18 months travelling around on the train with a guitar and a rucksack, just booking shows up ahead and doing it that way and getting paid like $50 a show or whatever. And it was I had this whole like Woody Guthrie kind of idea going on. It was nonsense actually at the end of the day when you really pull it apart, but and it got very kind of depressing and demoralizing, and there were some moments where I was really down about what I was doing with my life. But I guess just through then, I guess the kind of one of the first sort of breaks I had in the UK was just there are the kind of next generation of bands who came through after Million Dead. Million Dead were like a band's band, do you know what I mean? We were never kind of mass popular, but we were the kind of band who people who then formed more popular bands were really into. I sort of became, for a little while, this kind of like pet project of bands, do you know what I mean? And without wanting to disrespect anybody, I think there was a moment in time where bands would kind of take me on tour as their way of trying to prove they were still authentic and they hadn't sold out. Do you know what I mean? Because it was like, hey, this guy's definitely underground, so if we take him on tour with us, then it means we're still underground as well. I had a lot of I had trouble with drugs for a while. I was very angry after my old band broke up, and yeah, it just wasn't a good time, basically. And the first album I did, Sleepers for the Week, it wasn't really intended as such, but looking back on it when we finished the record, it seemed to be a really neat snapshot of pretty much exactly a year in my life, which started out being pretty intensely miserable, but ended up somewhere kind of cool. Ended up with me getting to make an album. That record is very much themed around kind of being a bit of a mess, basically, if you ask me. But yeah, knocks it all on the head. We're all happy now. So. Hooray. If the theme to the first one is essentially just sort of being a bit of a mess, the theme to the second record was distance, I suppose. I've been writing songs very, very quickly in the last few years, much quicker than I've ever done in the past. So I feel very like in the zone. So it seemed right to kind of do another record, but I hadn't basically done anything except be on tour in the meantime. So I guess a lot of the songs are kind of about being far away from the things that you know. It was quite a big plunge for me to do this when my old band broke up, and a lot of people told me I was insane and that I should just stop being an arsehole and go stick with what I know and all the rest of it. I would get really frustrated with people who kind of start playing acoustic music and talking about going back to their roots. I'm not going back to my roots. My roots is Black Flag and Minor Threat, do you know what I mean? And always will be. And I think that just the way that I play guitar and the way that I sing will always be influenced by the fact that I learned how to thrash before I learned how to do anything else, and I learned how to be a vocalist in bands where you really had to like give it your all just to get heard in the show or in the practice room, because you're usually going through a PA that's made out of string. That's why I hate the word scene, and I hate the concept of a scene, because the idea for me is that you make the music that's valid to you and you do the best thing that you can, and that your reasons for doing that it should be your judgment and your taste, rather than the fact that other people are doing it. And basically the band I have in the UK I've spent ages putting together, and it's perfect now, and they're all phenomenal players, and they're definitely my kind of like permanent band now. And we're going to... On the previous records, we did it with just kind of like layering everything up and me playing most of the instruments and doing it that way. This time around, we're going to spend like 3 weeks in rehearsals and then go in and do the album in like 5 days. So it's going to be more kind of live, more kind of raw, I guess. I guess it's going to be a bit more kind of rock. If I get this next record right, then I have a shot at doing this for the rest of my life and making a living out of it for the rest of my life. And if I don't, I'll do it for a few more years and then get another job like everybody else does. But so for the first time in my life, I actually feel quite a lot of pressure about the songwriting, do you know what I mean? I've never really given a before, and now it's suddenly like, oh, So I've been kind of like tearing my hair out about the lyrics in particular, just rewrites and rewrites and rewrites. But I think we got it there. And one of the great things about my band is they're very good at editing me, or just telling me when to just like chill out. Do you know what I mean? I'll be sitting there just kind of making us go about over and over and over one drum fill over and over again until we get it right. And then my drummer will just go, dude, it'll happen. Do you know what I mean? Just go with whatever we go with, and I relax, and it's all fine again. So yeah. But I mean, it's going to be out in September. It's called Poetry of the Deed, which Mikhail Bakunin was a Russian anarchist in the 19th century, and he had a concept called Propaganda of the Deed, which basically was instead of the ghost of Bakunin coming back to haunt me. Instead of kind of writing pamphlets about how you think the world should be politically, you should go out and be it. So, Poetry of the Deed.